Hey. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. Let me just adjust my own volume here. Although the music might be a little lower for you guys, it's still really loud for me. That's way better. How you doing? How you doing, chat? Gonna be a little bit more of an intimate fantasy league this week. What I mean with that is I had a special guest planned for today, but yeah, unfortunately due to circumstances it didn't happen, or it couldn't happen. But I decided to still go ahead with the stream. We'll probably finish off the league today together. And yeah, I'm down to do some call-ins. I mentioned it on my social media posts and on YouTube itself. So far, not a lot of people have come forward that they really want to do it, which is fine by me too, if no one wants to call in. But yeah, I'm going to be opening that up so people can, if they want to, and share their opinions live on stream. And other than that, we're going to take it a little slower than normally today. I have some time to do a pretty long live stream. So looking forward to catching up with you guys and finishing off the all-time prime fantasy league, of course. How we doing? I see here Dylan in the chat. How are you? Muscle Bike, hey, what's up? Ermes, what's up? Good to see you guys, a lot of the regulars. Tom has limits Hall, how you doing? Chuck, hey man, good to see you. Let me get some tunes for you guys, right? Some music lined up. That's another benefit to not having any guests on, really, is we can play some music in the background. So let's do that, shall we? There we go. Turn that up a little bit. So how you guys doing? Hope you're all well. What's been going on in the arm wrestling world? We can talk about that too, right? Medieval Dead in the house. How are you, man? Good to see you. Benji Mac. Bear. Hey, good to see you all. Let's take a look together at the brackets, right? While we're talking, we might as well take a look here. And at the current standings, maybe. So the way this is gonna work is I'm gonna basically pin a link to a Google Meet meeting, I guess, and you guys can join if you want. I think I'm gonna try to get only one person on at a time. And yeah, anyone can join if they want to, of course. But I'm gonna do that once we start with the matches themselves. And normally we did a 5-minute time limit for each match, but I think today we can make that a 10-minute time limit, maybe. If it's at all doable, we'll do that. Hey, Full Woody, how you doing? Good to see you. Hope you're well. Yeah. Gert was referencing it in the chat. Sometimes the standard option for the chat is only showing top chat messages for some reason. But you can change that to live chat if you want to. That's what I do. I like to see all the messages, of course. So yeah, here are the standings as they are now. Devon Larratt, and John Brzenk both at the top of the standings, and then a second tier with Denis Cyplenkov and Ermes Gasparini. We have some more here. These guys already pulled 5 times. So I'll remind you guys, at the start of the tournament, I got people to vote for whichever athlete they wanted into the tournament. And depending on the amount of votes each athlete got, determined their seed number, basically. And the top 8 got to buy the first round. So they went directly to round 2. And looking at the top 8 of the current standings, a lot of those that I got to buy in the first round are still in it. which isn't that surprising, right? Tom Has Limits Hall says, I feel like a kid waiting on my Christmas present. That's nice, Tom. I'm very, very curious what the outcome will be of the tournament. Who's gonna finish on top? I've got my hunches. But yeah, here you can see the people who got only losses. I'll move myself a little so you guys can get a better look here. So yeah, these people here at the bottom all got 0 wins. So Kidigali Yongurbayev, Scott Norton, Taras Ivakin, Wagner Bortolato, Dave Chafee, and Ivan Matyushenko all had a double loss and were eliminated from the tournament. Chuck said, who did Ermes lost to? Let's take a look, Chuck. Feel free to ask these kind of questions. You can ask me anything, of course, but yeah, these kinds of questions we can go over together, right? So let's take a look. Who did Ermes lose to? Ermes was one of the people having a bye as he was in seat number 4. His first match he won to Michael Todd, then he won to against Alexey Voyevoda, and then finally he lost to John Brzenk, which means that he did end up in the losers bracket and he will be facing either Andrey Pushkar or Vitaly Laletin. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. It's all going to be determined today. Who's moving on, who's not. I might do a separate episode for the final, but I don't think so, right? Unless we run into like 3-hour live stream or something, but yeah, I don't foresee that happening. Larratt, right. I had several comments on my video on Devon Larratt because I pronounced it Larratt in the video too, or Larratt. Yeah, I asked Devon about it, unfortunately, after I made the video, and he said that he didn't mind either way how you pronounce his name, so I guess if the guy doesn't mind himself, who am I, right? But yeah, I should say Larratt. Like parrot. Medieval Dead says, Chafee not getting a win, an all-time prime, is criminal. I know. The thing is, and I talked about this with Eric Roussin, our previous guest. Ryan Bowen, as well as, to a lesser degree, Matt Mask, made it into the tournament, I believe, as kind of crowd favorites, or some people would call them meme votes. But yeah, that's an explanation there, yeah. And Dave Chafee lost to Ryan Bowen in the first round. And then let's take a look here. Faced Michael Todd in the second round, and I believe lost very, very narrowly there. So yeah, it is unfortunate, but that's the way these kinds of things go, right? Where people can just vote for who they want. Gertilon says it is often still a popularity contest. Yeah, for sure. That's what it boils down to, although I think with having guests on and discussing it, I think we got a little bit more into the real meat, right, of how these matches would go, and kind of at least try to somewhat have a realistic outcome here, or try to influence you guys in a certain way to have a realistic outcome. I don't know. For the most part, I think people voted with their mind as well as their heart, to a degree, if that makes sense. Hey, Tomer says, hi, unfortunately, I've missed almost all of the episodes. No worries there, Tomer. I know you've been busy with your exams, if I remember correctly. So that's totally fine. You can always catch the live streams, the playback of the live streams. Plus, something I should mention once again, I will be making a full-fledged ARM Historian episode, kind of summarizing these all-time Prime Fantasy League episodes, right? So you'll get a full overview, I think something like a 10 or 15 minute episode on how this all went down. Yeah, you're here for the finale now, which is in the end all that matters, right? Your exams are all done, Tomer? Awesome. That's good to hear. That's always a relief, right? So yeah, I'm just fixing some technical stuff here, guys, while I'm talking. Yeah, let's take a look at the first match, right? I'll pull the brackets back up for a second, and we'll take a look at the first match. We're going to have Richard Lupkes versus Travis Bagent. I'll pull these two guys up to the table right now. There's Devon versus John, which we're not at yet. But Travis and Richard, here we are. I won't start the poll yet. I'll start my Google Meet. If no one calls in, that's totally fine. You don't have to call in. If you do call in, keep it civil, you know what I mean. Make sure my live stream doesn't get banned straight away. I would appreciate that. There is a slight delay on it, so I might be able to prevent it somewhat, but yeah. Keep that in mind, please. I do have to manually accept people into the Google Meet, so keep that in mind too. Might be other people that are already in or that are already trying to call, so you might not be accepted right away if you do. But yeah, other than that, I don't care if you activate your webcam, if you don't, as long as I have audio, that's totally fine with me. Yeah, I think that covers it, right? Other than that, you're free to do whatever you want or say whatever you want. You know, I'm not much for censorship here. Let's get a little more upbeat song, maybe. Not really it. That's better. Okay. I might have to somewhat mute the music if anyone does call in, but we'll see as we go along. It's an experiment, right? Hey, Tall Paul Hutchings in the chat. How you doing, man? Good to see you. So yeah, I'll start the poll here. Who do you have? Richard Lupkes or Travis Bagent? Of course, for those that don't know, I don't think there's that many of you in here, but for those that don't know, you guys decide how this tournament ends out. You guys decide how each match turns out. So yeah. Vote plenty, vote often, get your votes in there so we have a good result here. Let me quickly pull up the link for Google Meet. And there we go. See if I can tag a message here. In a message, I think I should be able to write. And there we go, that message is pinned. So yeah, join in if you want to, or don't if you don't want to. That's all fine and dandy with me. What do you guys think of this matchup? It's a tough one for me. Both these guys made it far, right, into the tournament, defeated formidable foes. So it's very hard to say on the right hand. I would lean towards Richard Lupkes, believe it or not. But I think you guys are leaning more towards Travis Bagent, looking at the current poll. Chuck said they pulled together at least once. Yes, yes, they did stand up, Rich. Right. Let me quickly crack open a beer here. Drink responsibly. Jacobin says, hard to say. Go with Bagent. Yeah, I get that. Gertillen said had to go with Travis, but can understand Lupkes. I think it's just in a best of one format. Travis is really tricky, right, in the setup and really fast. So if he can get there to his best setup, quote unquote, I think he has the potential to just flash pin Richard, right? But yeah, if Richard can engage, a prime Richard Lupkes, a tough man to beat beat, I think. Chuck said they pulled in the UAL. Yes, indeed they did. The famous match where Travis Bagent was telling Richard Lupkes to stand up. Although I do think Richard Lupkes wasn't quite in his prime during that match. Spermy says, I'd crack open a whiskey, but I just woke up. Yeah, it's pretty late here, so I'm good with drinking a beer. It's a pretty good beer, so yeah. Been looking forward to it for a while. And I'm not a big drinker, at least not anymore, so when I do drink, I try to enjoy it. And I thought the finale of the all-time Prime Fantasy League is a good occasion to open up a beer, right? A good triple ale. Prime Richard was just too powerful on the right, says Tom has limits hell. Yeah, I can definitely see that. That's kind of my thought process too on this match. I think Richard Lupkes would take it just on pure power, a Prime Richard. I don't think Travis in his prime had the power to withstand that. But if he does, I think the match would go to Travis. If he can withstand those first few hits. Gertilon asks, what beer are you drinking? I'm drinking a triple d'Anvers, which is a kind of a local beer. I'm sure Gert is familiar with it. Tom agrees there, yeah. And I think for the most part, I don't know, when was Travis's prime? We talked about this before. When do you guys think Travis's prime was? It's a tough one. Gert says getting pretty close here. Yeah, right now the results are 47% for Richard Lupkes and 53% of course for Travis Bagent. So yeah, your vote could make the difference if you haven't voted already. How's the music, by the way, guys? Is it too loud, or can you barely hear it, or is it just right? Feels like I'm telling a fairy tale or something. The Three Bears. 2008-ish, says Tom. Yeah, I can see that. For sure. I don't think a 2014 Travis is a slouch either. But yeah, 2008, I can for sure see that. Topol says, sounds great on my end. Just right, says Jacobin. Awesome. Music is fine for me. Okay, good. Thanks, guys. I'd pick Lupkes in a sit-down match, but Travis, too fast and technical for Richard, I believe, says Topol. Yeah. In a sit-down match, I think if this tournament was sit-down, it's pretty safe to say Richard would win that. And I would even dare to say, even if Levan wasn't banned in a sit-down tournament, Richard would still win it. Yeah, I do want to remind you guys, for those that have dropped in right now, feel free to call into the show. You can stay as long as you want. You don't have to stay the entire length of the show. I was planning on keeping one person around per match or something like that. So if you want to share your thoughts live on the stream, feel free to. The link should be tagged. Medieval Dead says it's like you got that old bush porn playing in the background, so sounds just fine. I'm glad you like it, Medieval Dead. Yeah, I do admit the playlist for my live streams is pretty eclectic. I should put a little bit more, I should say all over the place, right, instead of eclectic. But I should put a little more thought into it and maybe curate it a little, right? Spermy says Tolpal, I agree, he wins sit-downs all day long. Yeah, I do think Richard could take the sit-down belt home. I think Travis had two prime periods of a couple years each, says Tom. Yeah, Yeah, for sure. And I think that goes for a lot of people on this list, right? I think there's a distinction to be made between having a short period, like being dominant in a very short period, or doing very well during a long period, a longer period, right? So yeah, tough one, this one, and it seems like it's tough for you guys too. I'll keep it running for a minute or so longer than this. Right now, 47% of you think Richard Lupkes would win, while 53% of you think Travis Bagent has this. So yeah, that's one vote, I believe. Very close. If you can't see the option to vote, refresh the page or close and open the chat window again, depending on if you're on mobile or on desktop. If I watch YouTube myself, I'm almost always on desktop, so yeah. Sometimes I need to get a little bit more familiar with the mobile functions and the mobile layout. It's funny, YouTube rolled out a ABC, I guess, because they're giving us 3 options, an ABC testing thumbnail system, which is nice. I did A to B testing when I worked before, but it's nice that I can do it now for the channel too, and actually get some statistics on which thumbnail performs the best. Yeah, I'll close the match here in 30 seconds. I'll keep the timer on. 30 seconds from now. It's really close. Like, one vote could determine the winner here. Right now, Travis Bagent is taking it over Richard Lupkes. Robert says, play some Bowen foot dance guitar. Yeah. The previous song was a song that I used in one of my reels. I do put some exclusive content, quote unquote, on my Instagram and Facebook sometimes, so definitely check that out if you want a little bit more arm historian content. Topal says, I'm way too shy to call in. I'd look like a deer in headlights, and I've been told I sound like a Boomhauer from a King of the Hill cartoon. You saying you sound like Boomhauer doesn't make me want you to call in less, you know what I mean? But I totally understand, Topal. No pressure at all. It's just there if people want to call in. I figured since our guest kind of fell through for today, I might as well do this because I've been wanting to try it for a while. But yeah, if no one calls in, that's definitely fine. It's up to each person individually. I do want to say though, for those of you that are on the fence or whatever, it's a really low pressure situation, you know what I mean? I'm generally pretty laid back, so yeah, no worries. Medieval says, come on, Paul, everyone likes a good Boomhauer. That they do. Topal says, Bowen and Prutnik need to do a song together. I'd love to see it. Yeah, I'll end the match here. Travis Bagent does end up taking the win in a very close match to Richard Lupkes. So let's take a look at the brackets together. I'll try to keep my burping to a minimum, guys. I'm sorry, I am drinking a beer, so... Well done, Travis Bagent. Moving on to face Denis Cyplenkov in the next losers round. But for now, we're fixing our gaze towards Andrey Pushkar and Vitaly Laletin. Let's get these guys to the table here. There we go. Andrey Pushkar, Vitaly Laletin. Yeah, hard match to evaluate, right? I'm just saying that up front. I think for me personally, it's gonna be tough to decide here. I don't know what you guys think. But who do you have? Is it Andrey Pushkar? Or is it Vitaly Laletin? Get your votes in now. Or get them in later, if you want. If you want to think about it a little longer, that's fine, of course. I'll keep it going for about 10 minutes. Might be a little shorter, or if it's really close, a little longer. We'll see. Chuck says, is Vitaly's prime right now? That's a good question, Chuck. And one that often comes up in this league, of course. I think so, right? He must be close. If it isn't now, I think it's very close. On the right hand, I've got to think it's very close. It might have been a couple of years ago. Some people will say stuff like he lost his match versus Dave Chaffee. And Dave Chaffee is lately losing to a lot of people, right? So, yeah, a lot of people will point towards that match to say Vitaly definitely isn't in his prime. But then if you see him versus Ermes, that match could have gone either way, in my opinion. So I think Vitaly definitely is still out there, right? I think he's still near the top, near the prime, near his all-time prime. At least he has to be close, right? Chuck says if now it could be top 8 shape from Levan match. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking, including Chuck here, that it might be Vitaly Laletin when he gave Levan a little bit of trouble, right? In their top 8 matchup. And that for sure is a good point. I think Levan was particularly strong there too, so the fact that he made Levan work at all is very impressive. Hey Dan John, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Welcome, welcome. Sure to get your vote in if you haven't already. Tom says Pushkar would be too fast, I think. Yeah, Pushkar is so explosive, so quick off the go. But Laletin can be too, you know what I mean? Plus, I feel like a prime Laletin is also defensively really good. It's hard, man, to get him out of that high posting top roll that he does, like you saw with the Dave Chaffee match when Dave went in for a press. I think it's very hard to push through that if he's truly set that move. Bear says, Army historian, did you go on that trip this morning? No, I did not. Probably will be going tomorrow, I think, for Bear. But thanks for asking. I did not. Tom Hall says Vitaly just dedicated himself 100% to arm wrestling recently, so he'll probably get better. Yeah, I don't doubt that in a lot of these guys' cases, unfortunately, that's not the case for Andrey Pushkar, but for a lot of these guys, their prime is yet to come, right? Lupkes, I'm pretty sure, won't be reaching it anymore. Brzenk, same there. A couple of other guys probably won't be getting there anymore, but for the large majority, I think the best is yet to come. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I said, unfortunately, for Andrey Pushkar, not possible anymore. I would be very concerned if his prime was yet to come. About the general state of the world. That was the case. Medieval Dead says, I voted Pushkar because I heard his name means to move a vehicle in his native country. It's funny because a lot of these guys, and I'm generalizing here, right? But a lot of these guys coming from that region of the world, their origin stories are crazy. Some of it is obviously like very exaggerated, you know what I mean? But you mentioning to push a car or to move a vehicle is what you mentioned. Yeah, stuff like that. Like Alexey Voyevoda, for example. I made a Rise and Fall episode on him, and I looked into some of the stories that were around about his childhood, and some of them are just, yeah, really fantastical. In the truest meaning of the word. Like superhuman feats and stuff. Pretty crazy. Talpal says, won't be much longer. Brian Shaw will be in these Fantasy League matches. Yeah, for sure. I hope to see him in some real matches. He's got me excited. I'm a little reserved still on like fully crying like oh, Brian Shaw is gonna take over the arm wrestling world. I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's put it that way. Hey Heath, how you doing? Good to see you. You're having a good Sunday there. Spermy says Pushkar was the man back in the day. Yeah, for sure. There was this period up until his unfortunate demise, of course. There was this period where Pushkar just dominated, right? And the Denis Pushkar match was in the works. But unfortunately, yeah, we didn't get it when Pushkar was at his prime. Medieval Dead says, also, like many of those origin stories you mentioned, I completely made that up. Yeah, there you go. I don't know if that disproves my point or proves it even more. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of really crazy stories around about strength athletes in general. So yeah, that also goes for a lot of arm wrestling guys. Heat says, won my first amateur gold yesterday, 198 pounds. Awesome, man. Congratulations. I have yet to win my first amateur gold, but I feel like I'm getting closer every tournament I participate in. So yeah, definitely an awesome accomplishment there. Congratulations, Heath. Really well done. That's not an easy feat, really. I guess it depends in which region you are, but I'm assuming that in most regions right now, that's not an easy feat. A lot of good competition coming into the sport. Hey, the Fearless Spectrum, how you doing? Good to see you. Topal says, I don't think Brian will be able to beat Levan, I'm about 80% sure. But everyone else might have a tough time with him in a couple of years. Yeah, it's hard to imagine anyone beating Levan. That's why I feel the Devon versus Levan match was kind of deflating for me personally. I remember the hype was so big and I was just ready to see Levan get dethroned, to be honest. So seeing that Devon basically couldn't do anything, right? Yeah, kind of deflating. But I got over it, of course. Still love the sport, still love following the sport and making content about it, so yeah. Muscleback seems to agree with Topal there. And yeah, I think I agree with you guys too. Brian Shaw probably will become elite if he sticks to it. Don't know how elite. But we'll see, I guess. When we have more data, we'll make a more informed decision on Brian Shaw. Good to hear that, the Fearless Spectrum. Tom says, I don't think Brian will stick with the sport more than a couple of years. Yeah, that's a fear that a lot of people have, I think. But that might be the case, right? I know his arm wrestling videos have been doing really well compared to his other recent content that he put out. The numbers have been going up really, really well for those videos. But I do think that will deflate after a while, and we'll see if he sticks around, even if the numbers go down, right? One can hope. Hey, Devon's Forearm, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome.
There it is. Is that a pin? No call.
Elbow! Look at his elbow!
Again, the elbow is way off against the
Are you
post.
kidding me?
Either guy on the table. His elbow's off.
Again. PC Quack, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. Talking about super matches in chat. I'd love to see some chat super matches someday. I'll leave the match running for another minute, but it looks like Andrey Pushkar is pulling ahead here quite significantly. If you haven't voted already, consider casting your vote now before it's too late. A couple of votes might change the tides here, if you're so inclined to vote for Vitaly Laletin. Brian versus Larry would be good, says Bear. Didn't Larry recently announce his quote-unquote retirement from arm wrestling? Topal says Brian versus Richard Borman. Maybe in a year. Yeah, maybe. I'd love to see more from Richard in general on the international scene. Seems to have a good head on his shoulders. Gertillen says, I can't recall ever ended on a draw in these matchups. Yeah, it happened. We let the match run a little longer when it did. But we've reached the 10-minute mark, so I'll end it here. Vitaly Laletin got a little bit more votes, but in the end, Andrey Pushkar did take the win here over Vitaly, which is kind of surprising. To me, at least. I thought recency bias would have played more into it and Vitaly would take the win, but there you go, Andrey Pushkar, well done. Moving on to face Ermes Gasparini in the next round. But right now, we're taking a look at the next losers round, and then we'll move to the winners round, I think. Just about them. But our next round here is Denis Cyplenkov versus Travis Bagent. I'll pull up the brackets for you guys so you can follow along. So yeah, Denis Cyplenkov versus Travis Bagent, and then afterwards, Ermes Gasparini versus Andrey Pushkar. Alexey says, I voted for Andrey accidentally. Yeah, I don't think YouTube allows you to change your vote, unfortunately. I think they should add that functionality, or at least the option for a creator to add that functionality, right? But yeah, there you go, our next match, Denis Cyplenkov versus Travis Bagent. Let's get these two guys to the table here. Denis versus Travis, both on the same side right now. I'll put Denis first. There we go. And there they are. Very interesting. I'll start the poll. I don't know about you guys, but I think this is a tough one, because both of these guys are better on their left, right? Or at least their peaks on the left arm, they reached a higher spot in the sport, right? A higher ranking when they were both at their peaks. So who do you guys have? Is it Denis Cyplenkov? Or is it Travis Bagent? Get your votes in if you're convinced already. Vote early. If you're not, yeah, you can vote later too. And listen to what the people have to say about this match. For me personally, that's a tough one. I'll have to think about it a little. I'm interested in seeing what you guys have to say about this one, because to me it's pretty close. Chuck says, I feel Denis would tire out Travis. Somehow get some stop. Yeah, might be the case. Name not needed says, Pushkar was world #1 4 years running until his death. Yeah, certainly. Like I mentioned before, that period up until his unfortunate death, I do think that was Pushkar's prime. I do agree. Devon's forearm says, should fight for the left hammer in real life. We might get to see that, right? At some point. Travis would have to tell Denis that Denis is the greatest young man. Says Muscle Bike. Yeah, Travis, I like Travis trash talk, who doesn't? And it did seem like he was kind of back, right, in the match versus Kalininchenko. Or no, he didn't face Kalininchenko, right? Did he yet? Or did he face Derek Smith? He might have faced Derek Smith. Getting those confused already. Getting ahead of myself. Gertillen says, by the way, who is going to be the guest? Or would you rather not say? I won't say, I think. It's not their fault. Not really. But yeah, I'd rather not say. I don't think there's any use in me saying who the guest would have been, right? Denis has a stronger static hold. Yeah, definitely. That's certainly true, the Furious Spectrum. I don't think Travis is that known for his static holds. And Denis certainly is. Tall Paul says, I like Denis, but I believe again, Travis, too fast, too technical. Yeah. He pulled Smith lefty, yeah, of course. Not Kalina yet. That's for East versus West. But he did very convincingly beat Derek Smith, which is no easy feat. I feel like Derek Smith is like been thrown to the lions in his last matches. It's crazy the caliber of puller he faces. Even if not everyone was quite aware of how good they were at the time. I think definitely in hindsight, the quality of opponents that Derek Smith had to beat, or had to try to beat, was definitely up there. Welcome back, Tomer. Topal says he was strong for sure, Spermies. If he caught Travis, he could gas out Travis. Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those matches again where if Denis can get a stop on Travis, he might be able to just tire him out a little, and I don't see Travis hanging in there for a long time. Then again, he might fall out a couple of times and get Denis a little more tired, maybe. I don't know, it's hard. I think it's hard to get Denis really tired. But he might do something similar that Devon did to Denis, right? During their last match. Where he kind of kept continually hitting on Denis Cyplenkov until his arm did eventually go down. The Fearless Spectrum says, what if Denis tired out Ermes to the King's move? Yeah, definitely a possibility. I don't know if it would happen right now, but in their prime, for sure. Gerton says, hope they will come on the show some other time, whoever they are. I'm sure they will, Gert. I'm sure they will. They're always welcome. Tall Paul says, I believe all Derek needs is to get mad or fired up better in a match. He's strong and has a lot of knowledge. Yeah, for sure. That definitely might have something to do with it. Tomer says Travis' style would work really good against Denis. Against Denis's low grip, and Denis was never great at arm wrestling, he just had strong biceps. He struggled against Dave, who Travis beat easy. Yeah. I see your argument there, although I don't think Travis beats Dave easy on the right. Travis beats Dave easy on the left any day, of course, but Dave's left sucks. But like, as you could see in the finale of Game of Arms, right? I think Dave Chafee was, throughout most of their careers, better than Travis on the right, or at least stronger. I'm not saying in their all-time prime it wouldn't be close, because probably it would be. But yeah, you know what I mean, right? And to say that Denis can't really arm wrestle, yeah. I can see you having that opinion, but personally I think Denis is probably pretty good at arm wrestling, even though he's very strong, right? He might have a little bit of that two strong curse going on, where it's hard to get technically better if you're never really challenged in any kind of strength way. I can definitely see that. But to say that Denis was a bad arm wrestler, I don't think that's true. Yeah, Travis might have beaten Dave easy at wall. That's certainly true, Tomer, but yeah, I don't know. I think wall generally favors Travis either way. Also, don't forget that I'm not saying there were any shenanigans or something, but Travis did play a major role in the formation of WAL, and until they had a falling out, he had quite a bit of influence. So I'm just saying, rules were generally pretty good for Travis. At the WL. Not trying to take anything away from Travis. I think a peak Travis Bagent on his right is like a formidable force, for sure. Tom Hall says Dave dominated Game of Arms on the right. Yeah. It's kind of funny actually seeing Dave Chafee amongst the other guys there. Dave Chafee at the time was just... I think that might have been Dave Chafee's peak on the right arm. Might have been. But yeah, he kind of looked out of place in Game of Arms just because he dominated everyone so much. I felt kind of sorry for some guys that they got put up against Dave Chafee. But again, that's... You know, he was on Travis's team. Which is a pretty weird thing in and of itself, right? If you think about it. Just going on a little tangent about Game of Arms. Like the fact that Travis Bagent and Dave Chafee, two of the guys in that series who definitely at that time in the super heavyweights were really good, right? They were up there. That they got put in the same team. Such a miscasting. Medieval Dead says the Game of Arms finale left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth towards Travis. His ego ruined it with the left-right nonsense. Yeah. Although I do think it's important to stress that it's, at the end of the day, reality TV. So I do think people were playing up their parts, right? To a major degree. Maybe something to keep in mind when like evaluating Game of Arms. But I definitely, yeah, get what you're saying. Tom says, I honestly think that Denis has never evolved. Yeah, you might be right in that. Maybe if he would have learned to press a little better, he could have been greater. Or to say, right? Topal says, I like Travis's ego and confidence. Reminds me of the limo-ridden jet, flying, styling, and profiling, Rolex wearing, his stealing son of a gun. Woo the nature boy. Can't believe I got through that sentence, Topal. The Fearless Spectrum says, Travis has a strong cup. He controlled Denis's wrist, but not give the pin to him. Because Denis has incredible endurance. Yeah, Denis definitely has good endurance, and I do think you're right in that if Denis could at all catch the hit of Travis, he probably gets the win. It seems like you guys mainly agree with that. Chuck says, I have to go for some time. I hope I'll get on the stream again. See you later, Chuck. Thank you for joining us and casting your votes here. I will be ending the match as we've crossed the 10-minute mark. Went way over, actually. Denis Cyplenkov takes the win over Travis Bagent. And that does unfortunately mean that Travis Bagent's time has ended in the tournament. Let's take a look at the brackets. Let me slide in a little here. Okay. So yeah, Denis Cyplenkov, well done. Moving on to the next round. And we'll be facing the winner of our next match here, which is either Ermes Gasparini or Andrey Pushkar. So Denis and Travis can leave, go backstage for a second, while Ermes and Pushkar make their way up to the table. Exciting matchup, I think. Although there's not a lot of matchups that aren't pretty exciting right now. Has the potential to be close. I think all of them kind of do. So I'll start the poll here. Very excited to hear who you guys have. Is it Andrey Pushkar? Or is it the Italian stallion Ermes Gasparini? Cast your votes now or later. Travis is amazing in his setup. Yeah, true. Tomer says Ermes wins this match, though. He might. Prime Ermes versus Prime Andrey Pushkar. I think it could be a banger of a match, to be honest. Both guys are very tenacious. I think Pushkar might be a little faster than Ermes off the go. But yeah, I'd be very interested to see if Andrey Pushkar could push through Ermes' top roll. I think he'd have a hard time, but it's possible. Hey Tomer, have a good dinner. Exits the stream with a final message of Ermes wins this match though. Just a quick reminder, if you're new in the stream, you see the link up top. It's a Google Meets link. If you want to chime in live on stream, you're able to. Don't have to activate your webcam if you don't want to. You can just use audio and you can stay as long as you want. But that is available for you guys if you want to. Gian says Ermes' back pressure would overcome Pushkar's sides. Yeah, I can see that. I do think Ermes right now, or in his peak, is the bigger man also, as far as weight goes. Although Andrey was pretty beefy at his prime. Tom Hall says, I don't have that link, Arm Historian. It should be pinned at the top of the chat there. Muscle Bikes is Arm Historian. I think the link has gone. Let me remove it and put it there once again. I don't know if moderators are able to do it. Gertillen says it worked for me. Yeah, I'll put it in again. I'll unpin the message. Put it in chat again for whoever wants to call in. Don't feel any pressure to call in, guys. Like I said, completely up to you. It's back system. Strange. I've posted it again in chat. I'll pin it for those that would want to. The Fearless Spectrum says I could volunteer on video. You're welcome to the Fearless Spectrum. I'm not planning on keeping whoever calls in online for the entire stream. It will just be for some minutes. But if you want to, you're very free to call in. I do have to accept you in Google Meets once you do decide to join. But yeah, no pressure, of course. Right now, it seems that Ermes Gasparini is pulling ahead here versus Andrey Pushkar with 62% of the votes. Close. Kind of close, at least. Thought it would have been closer, but I guess, yeah, I think a general trend here we can kind of surmise from the fantasy league is, I think people in general believe that the field has kind of moved up, right, in the last years. That's my thought too. To be honest, I've mentioned this before with other guests, we've talked about it. I think in general the field has become stronger and more technically proficient. As arm wrestling is growing, it only makes sense, right? Ermes still getting the win here so far, but yeah, Andrey is climbing a little. Is the link not working for you guys? If anyone's tried it, let me know. If no one's tried it yet, no worries. I do planning on staying online at least until the fix starts in about an hour or so. So I started earlier than I usually do, just to get a little longer this stream. Tom says recent bias is definitely helping Ermes. Yeah, I think so. I think a recency bias plays into this. I've mentioned this a couple of times over the course of the streams. Recency bias plays into it, as well as kind of legend status bias, right? Guys like Alexey Voyevoda, who burst onto the scene and kind of got this mythical, almost mythical status. I think that kind of plays into it too, where people sometimes maybe underestimate them a little. Or overestimate them, I should say. Gian says, I just noticed Levan in the background. Yeah, Levan did unfortunately get banned from the event, but he decided to show up in the crowd and take a look anyways. Which, of course, thank you, Levan. Taking some time out of your busy schedule to come look at the All-Time Prime Fantasy League. Gertil says, have there ever been team contests in arm wrestling in which one team goes against another, in which your team has to get most points overall? Just wondering, it could add an interesting dimension. I seem to remember one of those, reading about one of those, but I can't quite think of the exact one offhand, so I might be mistaken there, but I'm sure there have been. To which extent, or with kind of a high caliber of puller, I'm not quite sure. Tom says Levan has the time since he pulls once a year. Yeah, plus this is kind of a time traveling league, so I guess having busy schedules doesn't really apply here in the All-Time Prime Fantasy League. We've basically gone and abducted people out of their timeline, right? I don't really see how else we could facilitate something like this. They tried the teams thing, it just didn't stick. What do you mean it didn't stick, Tom Hall? It should be working, right? There's a Google Meets link pinned to the top of the messages. It should put you directly into the waiting room, so to speak, of the live stream. I hope it works at least. I don't see why it wouldn't. I've used this with our previous guests, the exact same method, but yeah, there might be something amiss, right? So far, Ermes Gasparini still has the lead by quite a bit. I see someone has called in here. Let's take a look.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, hello. What is your name in chat, please? Good man.
It's Alfred, the arm wrestler Spectrum.
Okay, awesome. Alfred, good to see you. Welcome in the stream. Thank you for calling in. How you doing, man?
Yeah. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Where are you from, Alfred? I'm curious.
I am from Oregon. I usually visit LA with my dad doing like arm wrestling. I have a table mix over there. I've been doing
Right.
some training, but I've been doing some rehab training, like some wrist stuff and full body workout. And I'm interested in a lot of celebrities arm wrestling. I know a lot of I talked to Devon Larratt and Travis Bagent in
Awesome.
2018, and it was awesome talking
That-
to these people.
That's
I was
really
nervous. Like I was like special, like as when you're out, when you're on the spectrum, like your brain, like you're obsessed about arm wrestling. Like everybody likes it. I'm not the only one, but I like
Sure.
arm wrestling a lot, and I think about it a lot, like as like puzzle, like playing chess, and it's a lot of thinking, and it's
Yeah.
a lot of
I
it's
think
a lot of
honestly, that's
thinking.
yeah, that's what got me interested in arm wrestling in the first place too. Is I do still think of it as a thinking man sport, right? You do every move
Yeah.
as a counter move, and it's kind of like you mentioned, a puzzle you can figure out. So awesome! It's great that you got interested in arm wrestling in that way. Do you do any
Yeah.
table time yourself?
Yeah, I have a Team Oregon named Coach Mark Owen, and I know Heath is one of the, like, he's not a coach, but Keith is our teammate. He's
Awesome.
really good, and Yeah, so he's when I started arm wrestling in the table mix, like I'll tell you guys like when in this one how I discovered arm wrestling. I've discovered arm wrestling Game of Arms since 2014 when I
Hmm,
met Travis Bagent, and it was awesome when I see these guys like arm wrestle. Like guys, when I see the table mix, I was like, wow, I didn't even know this is a sport. It's
right.
like when I got into it, and then after that 2018, I think 2019. Sorry, 2019. I got into the sport of arm wrestling. I met the coach. He won one of the nationals to Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Malaysia, and he was a
Okay,
world champion. He was like 59 years old. I couldn't win this guy. Like I was like, wow. So I told him, hey, what kind of training do you do? He said, oh, he does this pronation and
sure.
risers, like the halfway hammer curl. It's not about full range. It's about the angles, specific training you got to do. So bodybuilders, right? They don't train these exercise like they don't train the pronators. Like they don't have this pronate. I have this right here a little bit.
Sure. Yeah,
But
I can see
yeah,
that. Definitely, there's some differences if you go to the gym. In my experience, I do once a week. I go to a public gym, and there are some people that give you funny looks at start, but then after a while, after they see you a couple of times, they'll start asking about arm wrestling and all the very specific movements we're doing. But I wanted to get your opinion on this match. We've been overtime a little bit on the match itself, but who did you
sure.
vote for, Andrey Pushkar or Ermes Gasparini?
Well, that's a good question. Well, interesting. Well, Ermes has the biggest forearms and he has very strong cup. I've seen one of his training about his back pressure record. It's good, but Andrei Pushkar is one of the greatest speed and side pressure is good. When you see like Andrei Pushkar, you see his flash pins are crazy. If you guys look at the footage of Andrei Pushkar like wins, you'll see how fast he is,
Yep.
but he's very strong. I was impressed he beat Denis one round on the left hand.
Sure, yeah. Andres
That's
Pushkar's
impressive.
left was also quite formidable. That's true. Not nearly as right, but
Yeah,
So in the end, who did you vote for?
I vote. That's a good question. I'm gonna say Andrei Pushkar.
Sure, yeah. That's a good choice. I think myself I would have voted for Andre too, but yeah, I definitely think Ermes has a chance in this match. In the end, Ermes did take the win here. I'll let you stick around a little longer if you want, Alfred, until we
Yeah,
get to our next match, so I can hear your opinion on that one.
yeah, I don't mind. Yeah.
Alfred, tell me, how old were you when you first learned about arm wrestling as a competitive sport? Do you mind
Since
sharing?
12 years old. 12
12
years
years
old
old. Okay.
in
Okay.
2014 or 2015,
Okay.
and
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, that's definitely a good age to get involved with the sport, I think. Even just learning about it at that age. Really awesome to
yeah.
hear that.
There's also my account. I have another account, two accounts. So like I have the oldest footage when I was in freshman year. Like for not like it was like for fun arm wrestle, like not a sport, but like for fun. I was arm wrestling. Like we all start there, you guys. Like as kids before, So like I have a footage. Like I don't have footage on middle school, but I have the first video where I was arm wrestling my cousin, my dad, in high school, one of my friends. But then soon as later, I started met the coach in a few years. So it's called Arm Wrestling Old Account Spectrum. If you look
Okay.
it up, it's I have 56 subscribers, but that one's it's an old footage. It's very old account.
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but we are doing and I'll be continuing this after the Fantasy League is over, but we are doing a viewer submitted kind of review thing too in some of my live streams. So definitely send your footage in if you want, and we'll
Perfect.
take a look at it on stream. Now, for our next match, Alfred, we have, let me take a quick look back at the brackets here. I pulled this up earlier. Here we go. Denis Cyplenkov versus Ermes Gasparini. Did we just have that one, right?
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
did talk
yeah.
about that one. Yeah. Oh wait, no,
No, no,
no, no,
no.
no.
We had
Actually,
Andrei
you're right.
Pushkar versus Ermes. Yeah,
Actually, we did talked about well, we haven't talked about Denis and Ermes.
No, we haven't, because that is our next
yeah,
match, of course. Yeah.
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like I was thinking about Ermes might have good wrist because he does a lot of wrist training, and
sure.
Ermes is very humble in his training a lot so far. You know, he's great in shape and healthy, but both of them are great in shape. And I see Denis is training good, and like everything that he does, Denis has more experience than Ermes because you know, all the years he's been doing all the training and a lot consistently. They're both motivated, and that's the tough question. I believe that I'm gonna say probably Ermes a little bit because Ermes is younger. He has that big forearm and wrist strength. But if you see the hand measurement, his hand's
Sure,
big
but
too.
remember, we're talking about all-time prime here. So in their all-time prime, I don't think their ages would have been that much different.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but
I think yeah. Sorry.
no worries, no worries. So you're leaning more towards Denis here or Hermes?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Ermes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I
Dennis
do.
will give him maybe two pins around, but I'll say three times in a row. I'll say Ermes.
Right. Okay.
My opinion.
Yeah, I think Hermes definitely has it in him to win this match in his all-time prime. But yeah, I do have to give the edge maybe to a primed Denis Cyplenkov being able to catch Hermes' hit. Alfred, I greatly appreciated you calling in. I had a good time talking with you, chatting with you about your personal arm wrestling journey. And yeah, I appreciate you greatly, man. I'll definitely be doing more of this in future streams. So yeah, feel free to call in any one of those again, and I'll be very happy to receive you again.
Yeah, anytime. Let me know, and yeah, it's good talking to you, man.
Yeah, good talking to you too, Alfred. Good luck with the rest of your arm wrestling journey, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was Alfred. Awesome. Thank you very much, Alfred. Fearless Spectrum in chat. Greatly appreciate him calling in and getting some of his insights there. Remember, if you want, feel free to call in, just like Alfred did. Sorry if the music was a little loud there, guys. Cheers, Alfred. Yes, indeed, MB. A lot of people praising Alfred there. Very courageous move. Thank you for biting the bullet there. Medieval Dead says arm historian could be a great politician. Funnily enough, it's not the first time I heard it, but I don't think I'd have the right disposition for a long-term politician job, to be honest. Especially not in the country I live in. But yeah, thank you, Alfred, there, for calling in. Good to see more people getting involved with arm wrestling. I hear this story a lot, right? I saw Game of Arms. I saw a particular WAL match. And more recently, you hear a lot of the social media matches, right? Like, I know the Devon versus Thor kind of practice match that they had became quite popular. I know Larry Wheels got a lot of people interested in the sport. So it's awesome to hear different kinds of stories, right? Always good to hear how people got introduced to the sport at first. I think that's very interesting. Going back to the match though, Denis Cyplenkov with 69% of the vote so far over Ermes Gasparini, so Denis is taking the lead here in the match. I was kind of expecting Ermes to do better here, but maybe Denis's legendary status is just too much for Ermes in this one. I see about half of you that are in the chat have voted. If you can, get a quick vote in there. It only takes a second or two. And yeah, we can get the votes to be a little more representative. The more people that vote. Hey, White Wolf, how you doing? Welcome. There's a prime Denis for sure. White Wolf coming in with backing Denis here. Tom Hall says, I have to make an account. I play in real life, never been on there. I'll make an account today. He's talking about chess. Medieval, this is great job, Alfred. Balls of steel, young man. Yes, Alfred. Very brave there coming on to the show. I do appreciate that. I don't think this is a very pressure heavy environment, you know what I mean? We keep things pretty laid back on the stream in general. So yeah, nothing to fear, guys. If you want to call in, feel free to do so. And I'm very happy to talk to you for a little bit. Don't have to stay long if you don't want to. Hey, White Wolf. How you doing, man? So yeah, this match, it seems like Denis has taken the lead and it's kind of staying there. Not a lot more people are voting for the match right now. So it is interesting. I do think Ermes has a chance, right? He must have. But yeah, you guys seem to largely disagree here. At the Fearless Spectrum, Mr. Alfred said, my bad about lighting. No worries there, Alfred. We could see you well enough. And it kind of gave you a mysterious allure there. So I wouldn't worry. I thank you for calling in. Tom Hall says, when my grandson wakes up, I'll call in. I'm enjoying the break from his vocal cords, I can imagine. Tom Hall. Sorry there about the cough. Yeah, you're free to call in whenever you want. You don't have to. I'll keep streaming for another 45 minutes or something like that. But no pressure at all. Medieval Dead says, I'd love to chat with you, Arm Historian, but I have such a surface level knowledge of the sport. I still judge who I think will win based on how much I can't pronounce their names. That's a very interesting approach. And I get you. It's not like I'm doing a quiz, right? There is a plan for a trivia quiz, but it's with people that can actually prepare, right? But it's not like I'm quizzing you on your arm wrestling knowledge or anything. I'll just ask for who you voted and maybe talk a little bit about yourself. Like I said, I'm always really interested in hearing people's stories about how they got into the sport and what their deal is, basically. I'm just really interested in that in general. Paul says, as long as Ermes doesn't hawk a luge in his hand to get the slip, I believe Denis wins. Or hawk Tua in his hand, which is the same, I'm assuming, right? Yertilon says, Tom, let us know your nickname in the stream. If you feel so inclined, I might make an account too. I also prefer playing chess in real life, but it's hard to find people to play. Yes, I can attest to the fact that Yertilon actually does play chess in real life, but unfortunately that is not my sport of choosing. So yeah, he can't play with me. Wouldn't be a challenge anyways. Jacobin says somebody should call in. That is not me. Don't worry, guys. No, like I said, no pressure at all to call in. The link is there if you want it. If you do call in, you don't have to stay on long. It's up to you. White Wolf says, was Denis / Ermes the winner of the losers? Indeed. These were our two victors of the losers rounds. First, Travis Bagent beat Richard Lupkes. Then Denis Cyplenkov beat Travis Bagent. And before that, Andrey Pushkar beat Vitaly Laletin. Whereafter Ermes beat Andrey Pushkar. And now they're facing each other. So yeah, we are coming down to the wire here. I think there's only 3 more rounds left after this one. So it's gonna be, yeah. It's gonna be close. We're gonna be able to finish it today, I'm quite certain. Muscle Bike says chess is a combat sport. Yeah, you could classify it as such, I guess. White Wolf says, what a couple of losers, eh? Yeah. Denis Cyplenkov and Ermes, biggest losers in arm wrestling, right? Very clearly. No, the fact of the matter is, there's only 4 people remaining in this tournament. After this match, only 3 people will be remaining. Right now, John Brzenk, Devon Larratt, Denis Cyplenkov, and the Italian stallion Ermes Gasparini are still in the tournament. Chess boxing. Yeah, that's a good one. Here Tilden is calling it boxing chess. But yeah, chess boxing quite recently became pretty popular, but I feel like its popularity online at least has waned a little bit again. But yeah, really interesting sport. It's alternating rounds of chess and boxing. You can win by knockout or checkmate, like Hirtilen just mentioned here in chat. That is the 10-minute mark of the match passed, with Denis Cyplenkov quite handily winning over Ermes Gasparini. So yeah, well done Denis Cyplenkov. Let's take a look together at the brackets. Denis Cyplenkov taking the win here over Ermes, which means that Ermes will end in, I believe, number 4 of the tournament, right? Which is interesting because right now, if you take a look at the seed numbers, they line up exactly with the position they're in at the tournament right now. At least for our top 4, right? If you go a little lower, it gets more muddied, but at least for our top 4, those are exactly the seed positions they came in at. Not that surprising, but interesting to note. So, we're moving on to our semi-finals here on the winner's side, with a matchup for the ages, a prime John Brzenk versus a prime Devon Larratt. Interesting. Let's get these 2 guys to the table here. Devon, here you are, and John, here he is. Yeah, could be close. Let's take a look what the chat thinks. Let's take a look what you guys think. This will determine a lot, I feel. Won't determine our final winner, but will determine who makes it to the finals first. Is it the GOAT, John Brzenk? Or the Canadian Devon Larratt? Undoubtedly both crowd favorites. Gonna be difficult. Medieval Dead says, oh dang, hearts are gonna break. Yes, they are. I'm quite sure. Get your votes in right now. Very interesting. Tomer, welcome back. Tom Hall says Levan belongs on Mars. Yeah, or in this case, in the stage, right? Watching on. Jacobin says, sorry John, Devon is king. "45% of you so far think John Brzenk would win over Devon Larratt, while 55% of you think a prime Devon would take the win over a prime John Brzenk. Remember, just to reiterate, we are talking about athletes in their all-time prime. So keep that in mind as you're casting your vote in the chat. Should be relatively straightforward, just tick one of 2 boxes. I've heard before that sometimes the names of the athletes are in the same font color as the background, which is, terrible design on YouTube's part. But if that is the case, do keep in mind that John Brzenk is option number 1 And Devon Larratt is option number 2. You should still be able to vote, but it might not show you exactly who you voted for. Medieval Dead says, I voted for Devon because I heard his name means stuff as an LA rat in his native country. Yeah, I'm sure that's the etymology of that name, right? Tom Hall says, I can hear the tears flowing already. Yeah, I can too. That's maybe why about half of you haven't voted yet. About half the people in chat have not yet cast their votes on this match, which is interesting. It would be hard for me to decide too. I do think a Prime Devon takes it over Prime John, if I'm gonna be honest. There might be some recency bias in that, but I think it's pretty warranted. I talked about this many times now, even on this stream, but I do think the field has progressed to a point where even a Prime John Brzenk would have trouble with the top 3 guys, which a Prime Devon is part of, I think. Xay says, guys, it's 1 round, so John has to be favorite. Yeah, you could argue that, Xay, for sure. I could see that. Gertil says, went with John myself. It's hard not to, right? Names not needed says, I'm a huge Devon fan, but the correct answer is John. I respect it. Muscle Bike says, in 2021, Devon was still pre-Beastings and Mum's Chili, so he was still conceding round 1 at that time. Interesting. They were both loading in their match, you mean, during King of the Table, right? That's their most recent match, I believe. For a 1 match and after an almost complete tournament, Devon would be much more worn out, says KL. Another good point there. Both of these athletes have pulled in the tournament. So yeah, they will be feeling some fatigue by now. For sure, a lot of fatigue possibly. So I guess the question, who has the best fitness levels and kind of muscle endurance, could take the victory here. Right now it's really close, 50-50, split right down the middle. I'm gonna turn this song up a little bit for you guys. I like this song. Tomer says John wins because he would know that he's gonna lose his cup, so he would put himself in a position where his cup doesn't matter, just like Levan and how Kerdech has said. Might be the case. White Wolf says Tomer was right that 2021 John had Devon stretched out in King's move and he let it go to save energy for the remaining rounds. He had that first round and this is a 1 round banger. Yeah, you could definitely point to that one, and I believe John was pretty much past his prime already by then. Although I don't think Devon back then was as strong as Devon is now, or at least was in his prime a couple of months ago potentially. Muscle Bike says, I detect GOAT bias. That is certainly, I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people, including myself, right? To a degree. I don't see John without a chance here, so. White Wolf says, and John is the master of 1 round tournament smashers. Yeah, that's true. I talked with Eric Roussin a little bit after the last stream about John's peak and stuff, and I think in a 15 or 20 year period he lost about 40 rounds, which is, yeah, not a lot if you think about how much he pulled. It is more than a lot of people think, but yeah, definitely not a lot. Still really impressive. Tom Hall says, without his cup, John ain't beating Devon. Devon is 3 times stronger 3 months ago compared to the 2021 match. I definitely think he improved since his match with John Brzenk, right? How much? That's kind of the question here, I guess. difficult not to be biased with two GOATs in the picture, or maybe it helps. The fact that they're both kind of GOATs, I guess, in their own way, might make it more close. So it might help you be not that biased. Right now, 48% of the votes are going to John Brzenk, so John Brzenk narrowly losing versus Devon Larratt with about 3 minutes left in the round. Tom Hall says Devon took Levan's wrist. John could have never done that. Might be the case. Yeah, Prime John, I don't know if he would be able to do with Levan what Devon did the first round, right? Levan was playing with his food round one, says White Wolf. Yeah, a lot of people say that. Including Levan, I think. Kind of alluded to that too, so. Might be the case. Might just be that he was kind of testing his wrist integrity coming back after such an injury, right? Such a lengthy injury. Yeah, I could definitely see that happen. Though we'll never know for sure, I guess. Hey, Troy Bounce Fit in the chat. How you doing, Troy? Good to see you. Troy getting steadily better at arm wrestling too. Says, sup brothers, I gave the vote for Devon, even though last time they pulled he had to drop into the King's move the first round to get the stop. Very true. Homer says, arm historian, what does prime mean? Devon for a hook was in 2010, but for outside moves it's now. So are we combining these two versions or not? No, I don't think you can combine two versions to make like a prime, an Ultimus Prime. You know what I mean? An Ultimate Prime kind of thing. But yeah, it's what you think Prime is, right? Basically, it's what it comes down to. You could speculate endlessly about, I think, the way I look at it is, like the two primes you mentioned, right? Devon in a hook might have been a different Devon from Devon who was really strong in a top roll. But who of those two guys could beat the most people on the table? Who do you think would get the most wins in a tournament? Of those two Devons. Whichever one of those you choose is probably what you consider the true prime, right? The true prime form. But I do appreciate the question, that's interesting. Tom Hall says Levan didn't trust his wrist in round one. Devon had the setup in a superior position. Yeah. Might be the case. Devon's forearm will ask for the keys to the time machine and settle this matchup. Yeah. It's kind of a time traveling tournament, right? Jacobin says call in someone. Yes, you're free to call in whenever you want. The link should still be tagged at the top of the chat. You don't have to show your webcam if you don't want to. I would appreciate audio though. But yeah, no pressure. If you don't want to, you don't want to. That's fine too, guys. You're welcome to if you do want to. Tom Hals is holding Levan for 25 seconds and taking his wrist. Gassed him out though. Might also, yeah, have played a role there. Devon has said himself that 2023-24 Devon is prime Devon. I'll take his word over anyone else. Yeah, that's fair. Although I do think a lot of athletes often mention that. That's like a staple line, right? Like I'm stronger than I ever was. But yeah, I do kind of agree with his own assessment there. I do think 2023-24 Devon is probably the strongest Devon. Yeah, that's a 10-minute mark reach with Devon Larratt eking out the victory here. Very close result. 54% of the votes going to Devon. Well done, Devon. Take a look together at the brackets. What that does to them. So yeah, Devon wins over John Brzenk, which means John Brzenk is moving to the loser's side to face Denis Cyplenkov in our Pan-Ultimate match, right? Penultimate? Pan-Ultimate. So let's get these two guys to the table here. John Brzenk versus our Russian juggernaut Denis. I'll move Denis. Who's first here? John Brzenk. Okay. I'll move Denis to the right. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I'm very interested in this one. It's hard to foresee it being closer than our previous match, but I feel like it could be. All of these are close, right? We're down to the top 3 here. So who will take it? Is it a prime John Brzenk or a prime Denis Cyplenkov? Get your votes in now. Who do you have? Who do the people have? Jokobobos, how you doing? Says strength-wise, John probably was recent, but the previous ones probably had more speed. Recent Devon must be all-time prime, says Jacobin. Muscleback says Neil hides those keys between his back tits. Gertil said, I had John, but I can respect democracy. That's what it's all about here at the all-time prime fantasy league. Democracy, democratic process, determining the winner of an arm wrestling match. Couldn't think of a better way to celebrate our most precious form of governance than for it to determine the outcome of the all-time prime fantasy league. With 54% right now of the votes going to John Brzenk here, but it's really close. Get your votes in, because I feel like with this one vote could make the difference. Which is something that doesn't often happen in the democratic process. Gertil says they looked a bit intimate there. Yeah, they did look a bit stacked on top of each other there, right? Medieval that says Devon is smiling down upon us from Valhalla. Yeah, Devon right now waiting for his opponents in the real finals. Roylev Ari says democracy equals tyranny of the majority. Yeah, depends on your definition of tyranny, I suppose. If you have a very broad definition of tyranny, then I certainly do agree there. Don't get me wrong, I think democracy is terrible, but it's probably the best thing we have available to us right now. Tomer says Denis never beat John easily, but John, in pulling John, said that he was a lot weaker and couldn't beat guys who he once could beat easily. That's interesting, right? Because that means that John puts his own prime at before pulling John. At least at the time of filming, right? He might have revised his opinion on himself later on. Paul Hutchings says Dazeng definitely wins this one. Kat seems to disagree here, with 56% of the votes going to Denis Cyplenkov right now. So yeah, do get your votes in. Those of you who haven't voted already, I do urge you a little bit to get your vote in. Hey, the Claymore, Mr. James Stewart himself in the chat, how you doing? Very formidable arm wrestler in his own right and an all-around good bloke. I had the pleasure of meeting in real life. Really laid back, chill guy. I can appreciate that. Although to be fair, I do appreciate different types of people too. Not only chill people. I can vibe with most people's energy, I feel like, to a degree. Hey Kazazuri, how you doing? Good to see you. Medieval Dead says, democracy, better than the other shit. Basically what it comes down to, right? The Claymore says, John says his prime is 25, I think. Interesting. Thinking of where that would place him, right? Probably 1990 somewhere? Or maybe a little earlier. Roylev Ari says this is really tough, but I had to vote with my brain, not my heart. Interesting. Yeah, I don't quite know what that means for you personally, Roylev, but my guess would be that you voted for Denis. I might be wrong there. Jay says, I think in tournament format, Devon beats Denis, Denis beats John, and John beats Devon. Interesting. Okay. Tom Hall says, John fighting back. Yeah, this split right down the middle right now. The Claymore says 2004 he started having shoulder issues. Yeah, he talks about that quite a lot, right? His shoulder issues. So yeah, that's interesting that around that time he started to have those issues. White Wolf says, so let me get this straight. You guys have both Denis and Devon ahead of the GOAT. So you're saying that the GOAT isn't the GOAT. These guys never pulled prime GOAT. It could mean a lot of things, right? That what it means to be a GOAT has changed, or at least some people might perceive that longevity at a high point in the sport is one of the main criteria of being the GOAT. I don't know. I made an entire video about it. You could look at it from 1,000 different perspectives, I feel like. Tomer says, the heart for me is with Denis. I feel sorry for him that he fell off the top due to injuries. But brain is with John. He's called the giant killer for a reason. Yeah, indeed. John famous for beating guys that were way bigger in stature. Here Dylan had John in this one too. Well, right now it's still split down the middle. More votes have come in, but it's still exactly 50-50 here. Roylev Ari says Denis stonewalled school bus recently. Yeah, I would expect that, right? I would hope Denis would stonewall Schoolboy. I'd hope so. It's not to take anything away from Schoolboy. Obviously a really good arm wrestler and really successful at what he does. But I don't think he's quite at the Denis level. Even though Denis isn't quite at the Denis level at the moment. I would be surprised if Schoolboy would be able to handle Devon. Even in Denis, I mean. Even in practice. Tom Hall says the days of a 200-pound man beating the best super heavyweights is long gone. I do have to agree there. I do agree. Musclebike says Tom, exactly. Cold hard truth. Yeah. I'm on the same boat. Tomer says to be the GOAT means to have the most aura of presence about you. Everyone worships John, not Levan, despite Levan being the clear number one. Yeah, plus there's a distinction to be made, I think, about the strongest of all time, which I think pretty inarguably would be Levan, and the greatest of all time. People have wildly differing opinions about what makes someone the greatest, right? The Claymore says, I think John has more fight in him in his prime. That's certainly true. John looked very dominant on the table often during his prime. And very confident as well. So I do agree there. Tom Hall says, Schoolboy has hit his ceiling, I think. I disagree there. I don't think so. He's still young, right? I think he still has a lot of room to grow. I don't think, just to bring it up, I don't think he's on that heavy duty of PEDs, if he's on any at all. So yeah, I think he has a lot of room to grow, in my opinion. Xay says, with John though, Devon will have a harder time in a round match, in my opinion. So in a one round match, yeah. Styles make matches. Yeah, this is what it's all about, right? This kinds of speculation is why I did this fantasy league in the first place. I love to talk about it. I think it lends us more insights into what these guys' levels is ultimately at, which is something I think arm wrestling historically certainly has kind of struggled with, right? Getting a decent ranking in place. And I do think a lot of people, especially newer people in the sport or people that are kind of on the edge of getting more interested in the sport, I think they put a lot of stock in what are the current rankings, how clear are they. I think it makes it easier for people to follow the sport and easier for people to get more invested in athletes. So I do think there's value in having this conversation for the sport as it currently stands. White Wolf says the GOAT is the GOAT because he killed everyone and cleaned up tournaments. He was a very smart and efficient puller, knew when to lay down and when to give her. Certainly true. John Brzenk pulling in tournaments from very early in his career. Time he was 13 or something. Right now still 50-50 with 10 minutes passed, so the next vote will determine the winner. I'll leave it running for about 30 more seconds. So yeah, if you haven't voted already, consider voting, because your vote could very well make the difference here. Tomer says, Schoolboy I think is on steroids. He beat Ryan, who's on them, and his cheeks are really chubby, but he's not fat, which is a common effect of steroids. Yeah, I do think people read into some things way too much, and I'm not really in a position to speculate about people's steroid use. I think it's in pretty poor taste usually, although I do feel like it should be more in the open in general. But yeah, you can definitely have whichever view you want on Schoolboy steroid use, I don't mind. John Brzenk does pull out the victory here with 52% of the votes. I told you guys this would be potentially closer than the previous one, and it ended up being that way. So yeah, well done, John Brzenk, on beating Denis Cyplenkov. A really close one, really close, which does mean that our final match will be the same one as our semi-finals. It could have gone either way, right? Denis Cyplenkov getting a third place there in the tournament. Really awesome. Well done, Denis. But that does mean we're moving on to the finals, guys. It is upon us. Let's get these guys to the table. Denis, you can leave us. And Devon, take your place, man. It's the finals. And right in time, with 15 minutes left in the stream, about. I think we timed this perfectly. Who do you guys have? Is it John Brzenk or Devon Larratt? I'll remind you guys, this is a call-in stream. Believe it or not, you are allowed to call in using the Google Meets link that's pinned at the top of the chat anytime you want. I won't be giving you some crazy interrogation or whatever. It's a very low pressure environment. But you are free to call in if you want to and give your opinion on this match. If no one votes, we go to penalties, says Gertelen. Kazazuri says, so my vote doesn't count. I don't know. I just saw the numbers, Kazazuri. I just went with the numbers. The Sexy Bastard says, damn you sexy bastards, I just missed this vote. Unfortunate, but you will be able to vote for our final winner of the all-time Prime Fantasy League here. Very exciting. It's been a wonderful journey so far. I loved having some guests on the stream. Just really loved it so much that I'll do it again, for sure. In our future streams, I have a couple of plans ready. Seems like someone is wanting to join here on the live stream. Let's welcome. I see who wants to join. It's our very own Mr. James Stewart. Hey James, how you doing, man? I don't think we can hear you, James. You might be muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect, James. Welcome, welcome.
How's the quality
Awesome.
of the camera? Okay.
Good. Yeah, it's looking all good on this side, James. Very foresty surroundings.
Yeah, so I'm walking home from church, and I usually try and get out and watch your podcast.
Mm. Awesome,
So-
awesome. It's really good to have you on here, James. I met James in real life. Awesome guy and a really talented puller. So I'm pulling at Arm Gods versus Mate Werengi Hitamoris in what was a very close match from where I was standing. So, James, tell me, what's your thoughts on this match we're discussing right here? John Brzenk versus Devon Larratt in their all-time prime.
And ask Devon versus John.
Yeah. What do you think of
I
that
would
match?
say, I think prime would be Devon, I think.
Right. And where do you put... Sorry, go ahead. You're cutting out a little bit here.
Sorry.
No worries. No
you
worries,
know,
man.
leverage. It's just leverages, really.
Right.
That's what it comes down to for John.
Right. I get it. Where would you place Devon in his all-time prime? Is it Devon now or Devon in the past couple of years?
2 years ago.
Right. Okay. So yeah, obviously not Devon right now because he's
No.
losing weight as we speak. Probably.
Like a 50-year-old. I think it's just common sense, like a 50-year-old in a heavyweight division.
Yeah,
like-
that does make sense.
And you have guys who are still argue like Levan, and you have Gennady. These guys are still quite young.
Yeah.
They could probably gain 5-10% before they retire.
Yeah.
It's just a drug use. Are you only as good as your last cycle? That's the way I think.
Yeah, that's you're talking very candidly here, and I do agree there. James, from a personal perspective, do you think you could ever reach the same heights as those guys, like let's say the top 10 super heavyweights? Because I've seen you in person, I've seen your frame. You're a huge guy in the best way possible for arm wrestling, I believe. So do you think you could ever make it there?
Yeah. It's only just been the last 6 months I've isolated my training, training better with the pulley system rather than just doing deadlifts all the time.
All right.
Plus, I don't eat right. I've just started eating better. I don't take anything like those guys. So for me to maintain my body weight, all I have to do is probably eat like 4,000 calories and maybe 4.5, and that's it. I don't have to. I don't have to force feed myself.
Yeah, that's a crazy number. Either way, however you look at it, just in a normal state, having to eat that much, yeah. But yeah, you do see a way to get there eventually.
Yeah, I think most people can in the heavyweights if you're over like 6'3", and I think the key is having a good hand.
Right.
You're not going to go anywhere in the sport long term if you don't have a good hand, in my opinion. Like, you might think Jerry Caderick doesn't have a good hand, or these flop wrist pressers, like, they all have good hands. Because then, you can't not have a good hand and be in the elite. It's just...
That does make a lot of sense to me. Even at lower levels, the importance of hand control is very apparent to me personally.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, that does make a lot of sense. If you have a good hand, you can make it very far in the sport, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, like everyone kids about Kamil Jablonski for not having a good hand left, but he can still top roll left-handed. He still hooks. It's just in that top 10%, 5% of pro pullers, he needs to push his own wrist back and flop.
Yeah, I get that. Those guys their hands are just too unreal.
Yeah, like for me, the way I train with my training buddy is it's not so much technique. You learn that at the start, and then you have to figure out what move you're going to develop for the match. You know,
Right.
just everyone's different though.
Yeah. That's certainly true. Everyone has their own strengths and their own boons for sure. What do you
Yeah.
think on like a grander scale, James? Now that I have you here, what do you think of the field in general, strength-wise? Do you think compared to say 10 years ago, we've evolved a lot as a sport as a whole?
Yes, definitely. Like guys these days are wrist curling. For example, you know, it's probably not directly with arm wrestling, but you have like the inch dumbbell. That used to
Yep.
be a big strength feat, but most heavyweights can lift it.
Right.
Like I've lifted it once for one set for 30 reps.
That's crazy.
So
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
quite crazy.
the sport is moving on.
Yeah.
Nutrition. I'm not saying money because you know people don't start arm wrestling for money,
That's true.
so
too. Yeah.
no one does it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people would say no, but you know, you've got YouTube, a big resource. You can get access to the top professionals without having to find out their phone number.
Yep.
Then
Yeah, that's certainly true. I think that's one of the benefits, quote unquote, we still have in the sport is that it's still at such a niche level in a way that you have
Yeah.
access to some of the top guys in a very, in some
Sorry for
cases,
that.
even a personal level.
Yeah, like you can get access to the best top coaches in 10 minutes.
Yep.
And it's before Facebook and social media, you would really have to travel to someone's gym, give them the money. And these days, I've never paid for training. I've never paid for a coach. I think it's just been genuine enough that you can learn from anybody.
Right.
My training partner's only 85 kilos, Sean Patterson, but I learned a lot from him. I've actually learned more from, sorry for the noise, guys,
No
it's just the
worries.
traffic. I've learned more from light guys than heavy guys. You know, they'll teach you more because they have to be more technically proficient with you.
Yeah.
Because if they make a mistake, you know, they get their wrist cracked or something. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I definitely hear what you're saying. And again, I think it's one of those things that goes for people in every level of the sport. I know I usually train with lighter guys too, and they just have the ability to put more dynamic pressure on you, I feel like, in different kinds of angles and stuff. It's really helpful training with lighter guys too.
Yeah, like, usually my training partner just uses both hands, and that's where we get the power work in.
Right.
And, you know, arm wrestling's a strength sport, and strength, in my opinion, stops speed if you're strong enough. So it's easier to get stronger because you can track your numbers. And sometimes people say technique. Yeah, that's important, but you know, if you're not strong enough in the professionals, it's going to show quite bad.
Yeah, that's certainly true. The strength needs to be there. I think that's also something I think a lot of people that are newer to the sport, and I include myself here, to actually practicing the sport I'm talking about, I think they sometimes overlook that table time is all well and good, but if the strength isn't there, you're going to run into issues at tournaments sooner or later.
Yeah, because a higher base level of strength, in my opinion, it gives you better endurance. You can last longer, you can hit harder. It's like the Russian weightlifting system. They would do loads of specific exercises, but loads of general strength as well.
Right.
And their athletes would last longer. But in the Bulgarian system, it was very specific lifts all the time. And they would only last a couple of years and then get the next athletes in. So it's general strength, in my opinion, you can last longer as an athlete.
Yeah, I think that's also something that I hope we'll see more of moving forward in the sport, and if our sport continues to grow, is people who take their general fitness level also very seriously and to the next level. And I think that could definitely help people get even better, move on to the next level in the sport.
I agree.
Yeah, I do see here James, John Brzenk took the win over Devon Larratt with 67% of the votes, so he will be crowned our number one victor here in the all-time Prime Fantasy League. I don't know if I would have voted that way. I don't think so, personally. But, yeah.
Like John, everyone will say that John is he's very versatile. Technically, I would say everyone says Devon's a technically good puller, but I would say John is just as good.
Sure.
Maybe even more, because
Yeah.
he pulled more competitions than Devon.
Yep.
He pulled competitions all the time.
Yeah.
It's just, in my opinion, and again, this is what my training partner, we agree, a good big guy always beats a good small guy.
Sure. That's why we have weight classes, right?
And that's the way that I've just keep my training very simple,
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I don't know. Everyone's got a point of view.
Yeah, but it does make a lot of sense. And I do think people sometimes tend to underestimate that. There's also just a case that John is in many people's eyes the GOAT, so it makes sense that a lot of people will vote for him no matter what, even if maybe their common sense is leaning the other way a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like maybe John would maybe better for a longer period of time.
Sure.
So like Devon might have been the top guy for like 5 years, maybe tops. But John was at a higher level of strength maybe for 15 years.
Yeah, for nearly decades, for sure.
But how long was it? Was it 2015 where Devon went to WAL and
Yeah, and John beat him there.
just really. But John had injuries as well in the shoulder, so
Yeah, both of the guys had some injuries, I believe, going into the match.
But I think it's just wins in context. That's
Yeah, that makes
something
sense.
maybe you have to.
No, for sure, and I think it's difficult, right, for people to lay down their John is the GOAT and John is legendary, like laying out those kinds of rose-tinted glasses for a second and take a critical look at the strength level might have evolved here. There's a good chance it has. But yeah, nonetheless, John Brzenk does take it. The people have made their voices clear with 67% of the votes now. James, I'm gonna let you go because I'm gonna end the stream soon. But I do thank you.
I'm starting to breathe quite heavy because I'm starting to walk up a slight hill now. So
no worries there. I hope you enjoy the rest of your scenic walk. And I thank you a lot for calling in. It's been great to hear some of your insights.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
That's what it is, eh?
Yeah. They are certainly good insights, to me at least. And I think our chat will agree there. So,
I better be going anyway. My phone might die anyway, so good luck with the channel.
I appreciate you, James Stewart. Definitely check James Stewart out on YouTube too. I saw he was uploading some things, so definitely check that out too. James, thank you so much.
I haven't posted in a wee while just because of they got the pull and Dean bolt left-handed.
Right.
So I've really been quite serious with the training.
Right, that's good to see, and I would encourage you to post whenever you get the chance because I do know, I do enjoy watching your lifts for sure, and I feel like they teach me something too every time I watch them. So that's awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no worries. Talk to you soon, James. Thanks again for calling in.
Thanks, Larry.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. That was Mr. James Stewart there calling in, and we do appreciate that. This match has gone overtime seriously, but our result remains the same, with John Brzenk winning quite comfortably over Devon Larratt. Keep on staying tall, says White Wolf. Yes, indeed, James, a mountain of a man if you meet him in real life. But a really pleasant guy to talk to. I see a sexy bastard asking the real questions here about the athlete's sexy bastard levels, which of course is very important in an arm wrestling match. I think we can call it here, right? The finals have been determined, guys. You have voted for John Brzenk. You have determined John Brzenk is the winner of our all-time prime fantasy league. Let's take a look at the brackets. John Brzenk. Well done, who would have thought, right? Probably a lot of people. He did come in as our number 1 seed, so yeah. Let's take a look at our rankings before we close. I will talk about the league in more depth a little bit, how I experienced, because I did dedicate 6 live streams to this, which is quite significant, right? It's nearly 10 hours or more even at this point of my life that I kind of dedicated to this, plus a whole lot of preparation and stuff, and getting people to join in, meeting some people, yeah, having them on for the first time was a really good experience. But yeah, let's take a look at our rankings here. John Brzenk at number 1, Devon Larratt at number 2, Denis Cyplenkov coming in at number 3, Ermes Gasparini, number 4, Andrey Pushkar, rounding out the top 5 here. Then moving on with... It's a shared top 5, it seems. It's a shared 5th position here between Pushkar and Travis Bagent. And then a shared 6 between Richard Lupkes and Vitaly Laletin. All 4 of those guys, the last guys I mentioned here, 2 losses. In fact, all 6 of these guys, Denis Cyplenkov, Ermes Gasparini, Andrey Pushkar, Travis Bagent, Richard Lupkes, and Vitaly Laletin getting 2 losses. In fact, there were quite a bit of people in the end. Yeah, of course, since it's double elimination. You do see here some discrepancy in the amount of wins people have, and once again, that's because of the seedings. Some people had a bye round 1. Our top 8 seeds had a bye round 1. I think the only person in top 8 that ended in top 8 that wasn't coming in at the top 8 seed, 2, 4, 6, 8 is Richard Lupkes, I think. So yeah, Richard did make it quite far despite not coming in at quite a top seed. Muscle Bike says the GOAT was very lucky to score ahead of Bowen. That is true. Ryan Bowen didn't quite make it as far as some people think, but still, he came in at a shared 8th position here, which in an all-time prime tournament isn't bad. He's in the company of people like Todd Hutchings, Michael Todd, and Alex Gerdetcha, which is certainly interesting that there's a Ryan Bowen in between those names, but well done, Ryan. The all-time prime top 10 says Kazazuri. Sans Levan, yes. Let's take a look who is our all-time prime top 10 according to Arm Historian viewers. John Brzenk, Devon Larratt, Denis Cyplenkov, Ermes Gasparini. So far, not really any surprises. I think Ermes Gasparini is the most surprising of those, right? But I think a lot of people would still have him in the top 4 all-time prime. But I think that's a little bit of a surprise that Ermes made it to the top 4. But then we have Andrey Pushkar coming in at number 5, which he shares with Travis Bagent. So yeah, those are the top 6 people. And then rounding it out is Richard Lupkes and Vitaly Laletin, with Alexey Voyevoda just falling short of true top 8 here, right? Jacobin says, yeah, this is a good idea. It was fun. I'm glad you guys had fun. I'm open to any feedback about this. I know a lot of things can still be improved. So let me know if you've got any of those things, right? Because I'm sure I'm blind to some of them. And I always appreciate anyone taking the time to give me some feedback, constructive or not, doesn't really matter. I'm happy with any feedback. Bunch of blowers. Bow and blower alerts. White Wolf says, I think it's pretty damn accurate as well. Yeah. I think we have a good list here, right? A couple of people surprised me, like Morozov made it pretty high into the list, as did Matt Mask, which I feel like is one of the other outliers next to Ryan Bowen, one of the other big outliers. Because I don't think a prime Matt Mask would be able to defeat a prime Alex Kurdecha. But still he made it farther into the tournament, right? Kind of. They have the same amounts of wins and losses here, Alex Kurdecha and Matt Mask, but yeah. Gert Willens says, thank you for the great content, Arm Historian. No worries, Gert. I enjoyed myself a great deal. White Wolf says, yeah, it really was fun, Arm Historian. Thanks for setting it up. Great work, buddy. No worries. Thank you for everyone who joined in on these fantasy leagues, these fantasy league episodes. I greatly enjoyed it. I also want to give a shout out to all our guests, starting with the Australian trifecta, so to speak, who all showed up in Ryan Bowen, Aussie arm wrestler, and of course Matt Connolly. Greatly appreciate those guys. And then of course Mr. Paulin gracing us with his presence was a really great guest too. I felt like he had a lot of awesome insights, having pulled some of these guys, I'm sure. And then last week we had the wonderful Mr. Eric Roussin, very knowledgeable about arm wrestling in general. I feel like he brought kind of a unique perspective, right? Compared to some of the other guests, I feel like Eric Roussin was the most knowledgeable when it came to earlier match results, right? And giving it some historical context. Topal says, we will see you all taters next week. It was an awesome Fantasy League Arm Historian. Thank you, Topal. Definitely tune in next Sunday as I'll be going live once again. I don't quite know if I'll be able to do what I want to do for next live, but yeah, I'll try to. I have a couple of ideas that are pretty good, I think. Muscle Bike coming in with a very generous donation. Thank you, Muscle Bike. I greatly appreciate you there. Says, I hail the Arm Historian. Of course, Muscle Bike, one of our longtime supporters and friend of the channel, also a personal friend of mine, who I've had the pleasure to hang out with for a couple of days even. It was great fun. Thank you to everyone that has showed up for these fantasy leagues. I think, yeah, it was good. We tried for like the real diehards of the channel. We tried something like this earlier on. Yeah, earlier on in the lifespan of the channel, we tried something like this, but a little less structured and without special guests. I think this one went way better. Was in general just higher quality. There's Jerry chiming in there for Muscle Bike. So yeah, but I couldn't have made this as great as it was without you guys. I know at a peak in a certain episode we had like nearly 60 viewers in, which is for this channel quite good for what we usually have. But yeah, I do appreciate you. Get your asses over to the fix. I think it's happening. I think it's on its way. Tell them the Arm Historian sent you. And other than that, I'll see you next week, next Sunday. Thank you once again, guys. It's been great. Holly Stewart coming in at the last minute there, dealing with her feral children. Thank you anyway. Prince Sadie, how you doing? Jacoby, no worries, man. Happy to do it. Yeah, like Muscle Bike says so eloquently here, much love, guys and girls. And now White Wolf coming in with a last minute super chat here. Definitely falls into the same category as Muscle Bike to me. Just a great guy, super generous, showing a lot of support for the channel, and in real life, just a treat to hang out with. And yeah, I hope I get to see you guys again soon in real life. And for those that I won't see in real life anytime soon, I hope to see you again in our very valuable live streams. Valuable to me, at least. Thank you once again, and see you guys next week. Arm Historian out.